I do think that this is a must-see play. This work looks at the the movement behind Me Too. It looks at the wave of feminism that we're experiencing right now. It looks at women's rights. It looks at gender equality. I think it looks at race as well. It is so pertinent to what is happening all over the world, but especially in the United States right now. Of I think that we're seeing a movement of definitely when we're looking at a case of an accusation, an accusation of sexual misconduct, which is what this play deals with. We are definitely moving into a moment where people are taking the side of the victim. And there's also backlash from another side of what if the victim is lying? What if they're making this up? And I think that this play takes both of those sides and looks at them head on in a way that is crazy to me that 3 decades after this play was written, we're having the same exact conversation. I am astounded that it is still incredibly timely and incredibly relevant. And I think if you want to look into one side or the other's head over, well, how could they possibly be victim blaming? Or how could they possibly think that this person isn't making this up? I think that our play does a great job at looking into the heads of both sides of that and saying, what if both sides are right? Hey there, I'm Claire Wagner. I'm playing Carol in Oleanna at the Hollywood Fringe Festival. To learn more about this production, listen to this conversation. The way that this particular production came about was actually really unique. I met our director, Miguel Perez, through the Art of Acting Studio. He was one of my first acting teachers, and he really kind of cracked open my shell. I think that we grew a lot together, and I grew so much under his tutelage. I really became, honestly, the artist that I am today thanks to him. And um, the conservatory program is a 2.5 year program. So towards the end of my training, the last semester, Miguel approached me and said, I do some acting coaching on the side, and there's this actor, Jean-Michel, and he wants to work on a scene um, to be coached on. And I want to work on the scene from Oleanna. Would you be his scene partner? And jumped at the opportunity to work with Miguel again. And over the process of maybe 3 or 4 sessions that we had with Miguel giving Jean-Michel some acting coaching, first of all, he's so generous. He was giving me a lot of training and invaluable information during our sessions then. But the chemistry that Jean-Michel and I had was just absolutely amazing. We got along so well as people and as actors. I think that we both have a lot of mutual respect for each other, and he is just so generous and gracious to work with. He gives me so much to play with every time. And so we did a couple of acting sessions, and about a month or two later, Miguel approached me and said, I really want to develop this for Fringe. And so does Jean-Michel, but we're not going to do it unless you're on board because you are our top pick. And it just felt like such a full circle moment for me to have this dream of moving out to LA to become an actor. And here I am getting to work with a very established actor and a very established director that I really respect and honor, and I treasure their opinion. And it was very flattering to get the offer to work on this project. So the playwright, David Mamet, is a very interesting character. And this play is very much an interesting deviation from what Mamet usually writes. He writes a lot of a lot of male characters, a lot of masculine heavy shows, and I think that his content is uh, very, very dark, very serious matters. I think that his characters tend to be really fast paced when they talk, and their ideas are they're very, very intelligent. And I think that um, he can have some misogynist leaning views sometimes in his work, and that comes through in a lot of his plays. And to be honest, when I first read this play, it came through as very anti-woman, anti-feminist. Um, but working with Miguel and his vision for this show has totally made me reread the play in a new light and has made me recognize that there is a lot of actually feminist talking points that he's making and coming out in support of the woman, whether that was intentional or not, who's to say? But I think that Mamet does such a beautiful job of making all of his characters very well spoken and very intelligent that I guess just a causeway of that is this character comes off like she knows what she's talking about because she does, and she makes some really strong moral points and she has really strong footing on her moral ground, which as an actor is such a gift to play with and makes me really excited to get to work on this text specifically and maybe give people a new interpretation that they hadn't thought of when they think of David Mamet or when they think of Oleanna. So the beginning arc of this play is I am a college student and I come into my professor's office because I'm having some trouble with a class and just understanding in general what he's talking about in class. And through the course of the first act and thus the first half of the play, we are trying to get started with this conversation, but we keep getting interrupted. One of us will get distracted or go off on a tangent. He keeps getting phone calls from his realtor or his lawyer or his wife because they're in the process of buying a new home and he's up for tenure. And so there's a lot on his mind and there's a lot on my mind concerning, am I going to pass this class? I need my professor's help. Is he, what is my grade going to look like in this class? And there's just a lot of starting and stopping and miscommunication or lack of communication. We're talking over each other a lot. And this lack of communication or these words or phrases or gestures uh, that both of us make get interpreted by the other person in completely different ways than I think what the intention is. And something we've talked a lot with our director about is what is the intention versus what is the impact. And that comes to a head through the course of the play of what is my intention with this character. And then the impact is completely different and completely unprecedented from what I meant it to be. I hope that our audience walks away with a greater understanding of how one event can be interpreted in completely different ways based on the spectator's race or class or sex or age. All of these pre-existing factors and conditions influence the way that we perceive an event, either one that we were directly involved in or something that we witnessed. So my experience from witnessing an event is going to be different from yours, is going to be different from the person sitting next to me. And I think our goal in this play is to have people walking away, not necessarily saying that my character and my co-star's character, not necessarily saying that they're both wrong, but actually both of them are right, and they both make a really strong argument. And if the audience leans more one way or another, is that their is that their past experience speaking, and are they able to see the other person's side? When we are performing this live, I am hoping for some sort of visceral reaction from the audience. I hope that we are able to get somebody to stand to their feet in defense of one character or the other character. I've read reviews in the past of that happening during this play in earlier productions back in the 90s when it was first being produced. And as soon as I read that, I was like, wow, that that's what this show means to me. This show feels so visceral for me that I hope that we can evoke that kind of reaction from somebody, because I do think that although this was a play that was written, a couple decades ago, it still has such a pressing story that you could be literally moved to your feet by how passionate you are about the subject matter. I do think that this is a must-see play. This work looks at the the movement behind Me Too. It looks at the wave of feminism that we're experiencing right now. It looks at women's rights. It looks at gender equality. I think it looks at race as well. It is so, so pertinent to what is happening all over the world, but especially in the United States right now. Of I think that we're seeing a movement of definitely when we're looking at a case of an accusation, an accusation of sexual misconduct, which is what this play deals with. We are definitely moving into a moment where people are taking the side of the victim. And there's also backlash from another side of, what if the victim is lying? What if they're making this up? And I think that this play takes both of those sides and looks at them head on in a way that is crazy to me, that 3 decades after this play was written, we're having the same exact conversation. I am astounded that it is still incredibly timely and incredibly relevant. And I think if you want to look into one side or the other's head over, well, how could they possibly be victim blaming? Or how could they possibly think that this person isn't making this up? I think that our play does a great job at looking into the heads of both sides of that and saying, what if both sides are right? Hollywood Fringe Festival is amazing. I would recommend making a couple days or a couple weekends out of it, because first of all, the way that it's organized, you can stand to see, I think, maybe 3 or 4 shows in one day, which I cannot think of another theatrical hotspot or location where you can do that. Like, you can't go to Broadway and see 3 or 4 shows in one day. It is an amazing experience. You get to meet and network with local artists, and the variety of fringe shows is insane. I mean, you could go see our play in the afternoon, Oleanna, a very timely drama um, about gender and the accusations around sexual misconduct. And then you could go see uh, uh, as one of the shows that I've been talking to, Feel Your Feet, which is a musical improv show. And then in the night, you could go see this other show, Bugs. It's a sketch comedy all based around bugs, and they have somebody playing David Attenborough to host. And then you could go see another show, which is it's an Edgar Allan Poe based show, and it's a little bit of dark humor, a little bit of drama, a little bit of comedy. That is such an amazing array of different shows all in the same day that I think is a great way to balance out. Maybe you see something heavier a little bit earlier in the day, and so you need something lighter to tone it down. And what a great way to network with a bunch of working Los Angeles artists. Just that I'm so grateful to be working with Jean-Michel and Miguel. I think they are two of the most profound and giving and wonderful artists, and I'm eternally grateful for this opportunity to work with them. And I wouldn't trade my experience for the world. And I cannot wait to bring this to Fringe and to show everybody the hard work that we've been doing and the generous artists that I've been able to work with. I can't wait to show them off as well. Hey, my name is Claire Wagner, and I'm playing Carol in Oleanna by David Mamet at the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Come see us at the Zephyr Theatre on Melrose Avenue. It is a wonderful and timely play that looks at gender, race, class, sex, all of the things that are timely and all the things that we're talking about today here in the United States. It is a beautifully written play. It is amazing to get to work with this director and my fellow actor on this play. And we would love if you come out and support us, because it is such an important story that needs to be told today. And you will be having a conversation as you walk out the theater with your other audience members. So come see us and let's start this conversation.